All right, we can go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for those of you that have joined us this afternoon. My name is Camille Khalifa, and I lead our instant quoting team here at Apogee, so I work pretty close with USLI here. We're excited to have Lauren Bupivi from USLI today with us to discuss their nonprofit package and demo our web quoting platform and capabilities. So with that, I will pass it over to Lauren.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Camille. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you here. Hope you are excited to learn more about our nonprofit opportunities that we have here at USLI, especially with 7-1 coming up, and we'll kind of go over what the importance is with that. So we'll talk about the opportunity today, why you should be placing your nonprofit business here at USLI with us, the key classes and different product advantages for them, and how Apogee and USLI can help you. We'll do an instant quote overview, so we'll tell you the information that you would need in order to get a quote over the phone, and then I'll actually show you a live web demo, and then we can also end the session with the Q&A. But like Camille put in the chat earlier, if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to chat them in there. Once I'm done sharing the presentation, I'll be able to address all of those. So let's start with why 7-1. Why is this an important day for the different nonprofit organizations? Typically, the nonprofits that we work with are going to have a fiscal year end of June 30th. So 7-1 is typically the start of their new program year. And that's also when they do their budgeting for the next year. So they'll look at the different grants and requirements contractually that they're required to have for insurance. And they'll typically say, okay, we either need to remarket this and have a lower premium, or we need to increase our coverages in order to make sure that we're able to receive this grant. So 7-1 is a really big and popular day. So this is very much our busy season, and we have had the floodgates open on us here at USLI for nonprofit business, which is the best situation for us. So a program year might be an after-school program that's running from September to June. It could be a booster club that's supporting a local school, so that will go more in line with the actual school year calendar, or maybe a theater program that has a large winter holiday production lineup. So we are seeing that there's different times of the year where the insurance requirements might be a little bit different than the rest of the year as well. So we do keep that in mind with our annual pricing. We are a great fit for the smaller localized nonprofits, whereas other carriers might have those fall through the cracks and might be focused on those larger accounts. And then, like I mentioned, a lot of them will receive grants prior to the start of their fiscal year, and that will tell them from an insurance standpoint what lines of coverage that they need to have, as well as the limits that they'll need to have in order to receive the grant. So with this being a key renewal date here, we are seeing a lot of remarketing taking place for this. And I can kind of go over a little bit later on what we'll need in order to review anything that you are remarketing. But we're seeing an increased demand for nonprofit organizations within their communities. And we really like to say that these are recession proof, because when the economy is up, people are going to be contributing more time and money to nonprofits. When the economy is down, people are more in need of these nonprofits. So there's never a time where nonprofits are not needed or in demand. So it's something that we're happy that we've built out a specific classes of business in order to address their different needs. In the social and human service sector, we're seeing a lot of increased needs for food and housing insecurity organizations, physical and mental health, a lot of counseling risks and mental health counseling risks, and then youth and community outreach, especially with the summer months coming up. There's a lot of summer camps and sports programs that are definitely in need of coverage, and we're able to consider those for you. With different changes in sexual abuse claim laws, such as the look-back laws, we have noticed an increase of claims activity with that. So making sure that these organizations have the appropriate coverage in place for these types of sensitive claims is definitely paramount. And that also goes in line with social inflation, nuclear verdicts, and increased contractual requirements. So we can also include excess or umbrella coverage, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. So we're going to focus a lot on the social and human service sector today, in addition to some of our other classes of business, but we can write over 500 different classes of nonprofit organizations here at USLI. And while it might seem pretty simple, a lot of carriers obviously work with nonprofits. we really have taken the time to tailor our classes of business to not only nonprofits, but their volunteers and the exposures that they have that could lead them to an open liability claim. So something that we are very proud of here in the packages that we've built out to make sure that they have everything that they need in the event of a claim. So what does your package look like? There's a lot to it. Thankfully, we can do this with one underwriter, one application, and one policy, everything that you do see here. So this is a full comprehensive package that we can consider. It's going to have your general liability, and that's going to include your products and completed ops, personal advertising, injury. We'll build in the abuse and molestation, social service, E&O, your special events coverage. All of our classes of business come with blanket special events, typically under 1,000 attendees. We can include host liquor. In some cases, we can also include commercial liquor. We can include that hired and unowned auto. Directors and officers and employment practices liability is paramount for these organizations, and USLI currently has a goal to get 50% of our nonprofit package policies to include that D&O. So we're currently at 43%. We're so close to that 50. So if y'all can help with that, we would definitely appreciate it. But it's a really important coverage because these are volunteers. These are not professionals that are typically running these organizations. And when you sit on the board as a director for these nonprofits, it's your personal assets that are on the line. So it is very crucial to make sure that the directors and officers have that coverage in place to make sure they are managing the organization correctly and that they have the appropriate coverages for themselves. That employment practices also includes volunteers in the definition of who's an insured, and will include that third-party discrimination, harassment, and wrongful termination, which is frequent in terms of claim activities for nonprofit organizations. From a property standpoint, we can look at building, business, personal property, as well as business income. We can include crime if they have paid employees, inland marine, equipment breakdown, and then excess or umbrella coverage. So we'll dive into a few of these different parts in a little bit. But we're going to jump into the different classes of business that are really impacted by this 7/1 date. And that's going to be your social and human service classes of business. That's going to be your food banks, soup kitchens, thrift stores, your shelters, counseling, senior and youth community outreach. There's a wide variety of classes of business. There's over 200 that we can consider here at USLI in the social and human service vein. And there's over 350,000 of these organizations in the US. And just to give you a scope as to what that really means, if you feel like there's a Dunkin' on every corner in America, there's 10,000 of them across the US. For McDonald's, there's 14,000 McDonald's in the US, and then there's 17,000 Starbucks. So just to paint the picture of the opportunity here, it's so vast, more so than you think. And if you drive down the main street in your town, I guarantee you'll see a food bank, a thrift store, and you'll see multiple different nonprofits that we can really consider that are small, local mom and pop shops typically. And that's our bread and butter here at USLI. So something that we'll do, I'll do a food bank web demo towards the end of this so you can see how easy it is to get a quote for that class of business. Next up is our arts and culture class of business, and this is really popular recently. We're seeing an increase in art galleries and museums, and we absolutely love them. We don't have a year restriction for the museums, and that tends to come up quite a bit. But we can do your choirs, dance troupes, libraries, performing arts, traveling performing arts is okay with us as well. And we're automatically going to contemplate their rehearsals, practices, camps, and classes and performances. No need to individually schedule out the performances. And we'll just actually look at the annual attendance for this. We're not going to look at admissions because admissions typically contemplates the ticket price, and we don't feel that captures a true exposure for these. They are very low hazard. So we go by the annual number of people attending all performances throughout the year. No premises limitation endorsement on any of the classes we'll be discussing today, so the GL coverage is going to follow them wherever they go. For this class, there's over 125,000 of them. So again, a very vast opportunity for us to go after this business. Charities and business associations is going to be what you would typically think of when you think of nonprofits. So your typical membership organizations that are focused on giving back to the community, raising awareness, and hosting events. So this is your chambers of commerce, booster and parent teacher clubs, foundations, professional trade associations, and hobby clubs. We're seeing an increase in car clubs lately. So if you have any of those, send them our way. We include blanket special event coverage in this again with a flexible rating. So what that means is we'll actually, for this class, capture their full year of events up front. We'll just look at the number of events they're hosting and the number of attendees and blanket that for them at the time of binding. So that way, whenever they have an event, the coverage is already in place. If it's under 2,500 attendees, we'll capture that on this annual policy for them, and it starts at $395 for a premium. Very low cost, and it's a super easy policy for us to quote. We're also seeing a lot of Masonic lodges coming through, which we can put on this. And in most states, this is going to be on admitted paper. So a really nice, quick, fast, easy option for them. Again, over 200,000 of these organizations in the states, and this one keeps growing. This class of business specifically has been impacted in most states recently because of the disbandment of master policies. So for the booster clubs and foundations, for example, the school-centered organizations that used to be in place to help financially support the band and the arts programs used to be covered under district policy. In certain states now, they have completely disbanded those master policies, and now these smaller parent-led and volunteer-led organizations are now required to secure their own insurance. So that's why this is priced so competitively, because we understand that this is a low loss exposure, but high demand product. So again, this one starts at $395. Very, very popular class of business for us. I mentioned that summer is coming up, so obviously sports camps are definitely hot right now, and this is super easy to call in to get a quote over the phone or a web quote as well. But this is really meant for your teams, leagues, camps, and clinics. We can actually consider these both for-profit and not-for-profit, and we can look at these both youth, adult, or mixed age. If they are mixed sport as well, so let's say it's a 3-month summer camp that's offering baseball, softball, and soccer, we can consider that on one policy for them. We also include abuse and molestation on this, as well as assault and battery, and we can include that abuse and molestation up to that $1 million. So opportunity for this class is over 140,000, and this is really great to market for seasonally. So 4 times a year, you can really push for this class of business depending on the season and the registrations that are coming up for that one. So the summer registrations typically have already ended. We're seeing the last few trickle in right now, so we'll get the next burst typically towards the end of July, early August for the fall sports registration. So something to keep on your radar if you want to go after that business. Community associations is probably the number one thing that our agents think of us for. This in houses of worship. So we love this class of business. We have taken some changes on it recently in certain states, but typically for homeowners and townhome associations where the unit owners are responsible for maintenance and insurance, we'll go up to 1,000 units and can review their amenities as well. For most states, condo associations, we can go up to 500 units. Currently in Florida, New York, and California, we are capping that at 100 units. But again, we can contemplate the amenities. For property, we are a little bit more limited. We don't like the massive associations, and from a condo standpoint, for property, we're typically looking at 5 units and under because we are capped at 1.5 million in non-coastal zones. So it's really meant for the ancillary exposures like a clubhouse, the fence, the tennis courts, the swimming pool, to give them property coverage for those homeowners associations. More than 355,000 of these. I'm located in Florida, and I feel like there's 100 that pop up around me each and every day. So always going to be an expanding and growing class for us. And then houses of worship. So we have all faiths and denominations are eligible. We don't care who you're praying to or how. We are really just going to look at the actual size and scope of their operations for this class. So we'll go up to 30,000 square feet. Again, I'm located in the South, so the mega churches are not going to be a fit for us. But really your small local houses of worship is what we can consider for this. We did take some property changes on this. So if the building age exceeds 75 years or if the roof age exceeds 25 years, we are now no longer a market for the building property. However, if it's just contents coverage that you're looking for, that is completely fine. There's no restriction there. We do find that tenant-based is primarily what we see for this. Not as many of these organizations own the structure, so hasn't been too much of an issue on our end. Over 380,000 of these organizations, and we are seeing growth in this sector because there's different clientele in terms of religious organizations at this time. So we are seeing new houses of worship pop up all the time. For our excess and umbrella, this is automatically going to go out the door with eligible new business quotes at the 1 million limit. But for most classes of business, we can go up to 5 million. So if you do need higher limits, just let your underwriter know and they'll be happy to offer you that higher excess or umbrella offer. It starts as low as $295 for the excess and $395 for the umbrella at the 1 million tier. And we have the ability to go over general liability and auto for unsupported business, so meaning that USLI is not the underlying carrier on it. The caveat for that would be if you want employer's liability, D&O, abuse and molestation, or professional E&O, we would only extend over our own coverage for that. So as long as the underlying carrier has that B++ rating or better, we're able to extend over that, but we also would not extend over another excess or umbrella, so there's no stacking. We would have to be the primary or lead excess in that event. So lots of classes of business, obviously, here at USLI, a lot of business coming in for this 7-1. It's coming at you fast, I'm sure, and you want to get it off your desk as quickly as possible. And that's where USLI and Apogee can really help you here. So instant phone quote is going to be one of the quickest ways that you can get a quote. And you have a designated phone number, which is 888-845-1637. And that will connect you to over 90 underwriters. You might even get me. I answer these phone calls all the time, who are ready to assist you and get you a quote. So we ask you very few rating questions in order to get you the quote, and we also have the ability to go through the full script. If you don't want to ever have to fill out an application, that's completely fine by us. And then we'll email that quote directly to you and a pre-filled application. So if for whatever reason here at USLI we cannot offer you a quote over the phone, we will always refer you back to Apogee. We're never going to say, sorry, not a fit, have a lovely day, try again on the next one. We'll always offer that warm transfer back to Apogee. And we can also send you a pre-filled application with the rating information that you had already provided if you were interested. So that way you have an application ready to go if you didn't have one at that time. So it's going to save you time. Again, there's no accord forms needed, no supplemental applications needed. If you have the rating information, you just give us a call and we can get you ready to roll. Typically, the information that you'll need is going to be the named insured, a physical location address for your file, square footage, and then number of employees or volunteers. Some classes you'll need to have the annual revenues, including funds raised or donated, but very minimal information in order to get you quote both on the phone actually and on the web. So we have a lot of accessibility in terms of this. We are working 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And if you're one of the crazies like me who sometimes needs to work on a Saturday, we also have people staffed here on the phone from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays. After the call, you will get a copy of the quote, and a copy will also go over to Apogee. And then that pre-filled application will come as well with any of the information that you had provided to us at the time of quoting. And then anytime you're ready to go forward with binding, you would send that over to your contact there at Apogee. Lots of different classes eligible to be phone and web quoted. I know this looks like it's a lot, but we actually have 115 classes that we are able to quote on the phone and web. So something that if you need something very, very fast, this is going to be your best bet. Caveat for that would be if there are losses on it, we would not want to quote that over the phone or the web. We would want to take a look at those loss runs if it's been within the last 5 years. So if you still want to enter it in online, you're more than welcome to. We will request those loss runs, but then at least we have the information ready to go at that time. So I'll go through a web demo, but what I'm going to do first is just quickly finish this presentation so that way I can address any questions that you guys have when I'm done sharing my screen here. Like I mentioned, with phone and web quoting, it's going to be a very quick way for you to be able to get a quote. But rest assured, however you prefer to submit, whether it's phone, web, or email, the result is going to be the same at the end, which is hopefully a beautiful quote that you're able to sell very quickly, because this can reduce your transaction time significantly. We also work very diligently on our end here at USLI to make sure if something is stuck in a submit status on our web, that we quickly turn that around for you so you can get that back. There is a chat feature that I'll show you on the web as well that's able to kind of help guide you through the process if you do have questions. It is not a robot. It is real life people who are answering that chat. So rest assured that you are in good hands if you ever do need to utilize that chat feature. So we will, I think somebody may have asked if this presentation was being sent out, and Camille, I do believe it is, correct?
Yeah, if you're okay with that, we can get the slides sent out.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
So
Melissa, if you
let
want to
me
just
go
send your
ahead.
email in the chat, we can just copy that down and get those
Perfect.
sent to you.
I am going to pull up the web quoting platform really quickly here. All right. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so I already took the courtesy of logging into USLI Snap. Like I mentioned, I work remote down in Florida, so my system gets sticky a lot, so I wanted to make sure I was in here. But if you haven't played around with USLI Snap, it's a really great portal for you to be able to really access everything that you need. You'll have your forms library if you need to pull up specific different forms that you might see listed on a policy. We can also always send you a specimen if needed. But this will also, anytime you do quotes on here, it will show you a little bank here and will make it super easy for you to be able to keep track of everything that you're doing. So we're going to do a web demo for a food bank today, but again, something to definitely go around and play with. You can search for different things in here. So if I wanted to see what was eligible for a food bank, I would just type food bank in here, and anything that was, see, here's your little chat now down here in the bottom right, it will always pop up. But any tile that has eligible coverage for a food bank is now going to pop up. So we are going to be looking at the underlying today. So that's going to be under our social service class of business. And it will give you some highlighted features here. I'm going to hit start a quote. If I hit full quote, it will go through the full quoting script. You do not have to do that. Again, instant quote is meant to expedite this process for you. So I'm going to hit instant quote, meaning it's only going to ask me for the rating questions. So we're going to do test food bank for Apogee. I'm going to do it just down here so that way I can put in a zip code really quick. I'll do GL only just to make this a little bit faster. For losses, I am going to select no. You can leave that marked as unknown. Anytime unknown is an option, you can select that. That will not prevent you from getting a quote. If you hit yes, that would then send an email over to the designated underwriter for your customer state, and then they would ask you for those loss runs, but you could actually also attach them here if you wanted to skip that part. So I'm going to pick my classification here, food bank, but you can also see all the different classes that we can consider here at USLI for social and human services. It is quite a bit. Something, again, we are very proud of building out. You can enter in how many years they've been at the location. That's going to be a credit question. This next question is just asking if they currently have business, have this exact piece of business with USLI, maybe through another customer. So usually we would leave that as no. So I'm going to put food bank, no other operations. But this section is really going to be for you to provide as much information as possible. So that way we have everything that we need to review. We'll do 123 Main Street here in Parrish, Florida. Let's use it as the mailing address as well. The limits are going to be pre-selected here. Again, we're going to go out the door with an excess or umbrella as well. So you'll have that. Let's say this is 500 square feet. And then you'll have your E&O exposure down here. So you can see all the different types of employees and volunteers that we can consider. Let's just say this one has 3 part-time volunteers. And then on the bottom, you'll see any additional exposures that they might potentially have. So for time's sake, I'm going to say no, 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 no. I'll hit continue. It'll think for a hot second. And then down at the bottom right, you'll see application number will actually turn into a quote number. There we go. So we have our quote number down here. So if you have to call in or reference this for whatever reason, that's going to be your reference number. This one is coming in at $505 for the annual premium. If there's different payment options, you can select that here. You can also pick your inception date of when you want your policy to start. You can enter in your retailer name and any additional information for them. And then if you need to play around with any of the limits, you're more than welcome to do so here. It will tell you that certain things have changed or if it needs to recalculate anything. So it is a pretty intuitive system here for it. And what you can do is you can open up the quote letter and take a peek at it. And it will look like a nice, beautiful little proposal that you can send on over. So you'll see how all of that coverage is built out for you here, all their additional options. And you'll also have the umbrella in that quote packet. And then you'll also have the pre-filled application that we mentioned. So any of the rating information that was provided will automatically be in here. So that way, if you do also want to remarket this to other carriers, you now have an application with the information needed to quote ready to go. You can share this with yourself. You can send it to your agents. You can figure out which order you want things in, or if you don't want certain things included in your packet. You can go through your billing, all the different quote documents and the versions of it, or if you have questions on it, you can call in. So there's a lot of different features on here to help make sure that you have the quote that you need and the coverages that you need for it. Again, pretty intuitive. You should all have your own accounts, and if you don't, let either Camille, I think it should be you that they would typically reach out to for that, right? Perfect. So you would just let Camille know if you didn't have access to your account and she can get you connected with that. But that's it. That's as easy as it gets in terms of quoting and hopefully not having to fill out a ton of accords for you guys. So that
Thank you so much, Lauren.
yeah, of course. That's our info. And then I don't believe there were any other questions in the chat, correct?
No, I didn't see anything else come through, but I did put my email in the chat. So if for some reason you do not have an account, you can shoot me an email and we will get you in touch with the right sales development specialist who will help you set up an account and do a demo again.
Perfect. Then that is all I have, Camille.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We can stay on for a few more if anyone has any questions, but if not, thank you all for joining, and I'm sure you'll see some emails from us soon.
Thank you so much.